Okay, the rebuilding of NXT. I'm not going to take long with this because even though we had 7 matches, at this point they don't really mean much. At least for the men, it doesn't really mean a lot. The women, it sort of does, but let me make it clear. The way they're setting up the North American Championship ladder match at Battleground, I'm not too fond of how they did it here. Because they were missing one major element, and that was me. But I'll explain in a minute. But let's put this into context before we get into what we actually saw on the show. Look, Lara Valkyria is gone. Paxley, I believe, is also gone. We no longer have Kiani James. She's gone. We don't have Blair Davenport. I'm sorry, I said Drew. Blair Davenport, she's not there. Ilya Dragunov is not there. Carmelo Hayes is not there. If I'm right, also, from what I remember, Dijak has now moved over. And there could be some others from NXT that had quietly been moved over as supplemental drafts to Raw and SmackDown. As far as I know, there are more than maybe 10 all across. Maybe about 10 from the 2 days up until when it came to Backlash. So, we have to rebuild NXT again. The most important people are gone, so they're gonna have to rebuild all around a Trick Willie. And also around a Roxanne Perez. That is what they have to do now. So, what did we get in this show? It wasn't all great. It's some of the minor stories that are still being allowed to keep going in the hopes of something could be developed from them. New stories are being developed. New people have been shown. I won't say it's great. It was okay. Now, let's open with someone who came back who, I'm kind of batting 2 for 2, guys. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm not. But I said this a while ago. If anybody watches my Impact reviews, many years ago, Desmond Xavier, Dez, who is now known as, originally known as Wes Lee, but was known as Desmond Xavier in Impact Wrestling, has now returned and had his first match against Josh Briggs. Let it make it. That's my boy. I'm emotional about this because it's not like I'm not batting pretty damn good. I knew Eli Drake was going to get somewhere. I knew Desmond Xavier was going to get somewhere. And recently with Trick Williams, I knew these 3 people were going to be something. I knew it. I could see it. I'm not saying other people couldn't, but if you're watching my channel, there's a good possibility not everyone is going to see what I see. Let's make it clear, I'm a weirdo. I don't think like everybody else. I don't act like everybody else. Look, I'm 53 years old. I do wrestling reviews. I watch anime. I'm just like a big kid at heart. That's just me. I'm a nut. But I do see things a bit different than people. Not saying others didn't see the same thing as me, but they probably didn't believe in them as I did. I'm a little bit different. So seeing Desmond Xavier formerly and now the Wes Lee come back and do a great job. And they did a nice vid pack showing his rise, his back problems, his fall, and now his rebuild. People love Wes Lee. I truly believe that he won't last long in this roster. I do believe if he doesn't have any more problems with his back or any other injuries, maybe by next year, he will be gone from NXT. He is more than developed from the time he was in Impact Wrestling till he came here in NXT when he was with Wentz. Zachary Wentz. So he really is ready for the main roster. It's just now that he come back, they got to rebuild him back to where he was. Of course, Wes Lee was going to win. Was he well done? Yes, he looked very good in the ring. He looked like he normally does. He's a high-flying wrestler. Let's make it very clear. The Cardiac Kid is a high-flying wrestler. Next to Pac, he's the only wrestler that's a high flyer that I like the most. I'm sorry. There are many other wrestlers like Ricochet, like several others like when it comes to Frazier, when it comes to Axiom. They're not bad. I do like them. But the ones I love the most, I'm sorry. In WWE, it's Wes Lee. In AEW, it's Pac. I'm sorry. That's it. When it comes over to TNA, the closest I can truly say that I like the most would be Chris Bay. or Ace Austin. Either one of them are kind of interchangeable at this point. But since now we don't know what's going to happen with either one of them, I can't really say which one I'm the favorite of, but I do know that both of them are the best that they have. But Wes is my boy. I've known him for years, 7 to 8 years. I've seen Wes, seen him in Impact, see him here, and I'm proud of how far he come and how hard he worked and how much the people are going to love him. I truly believe when he transitions over to main roster, he will be there. Next, Baszler versus Petrovic. Let's make this clear. This is trying to build up Petrovic. It's not really trying to build up Lola Vice at this moment. Lola's already developed, at least to a certain extent, but now they're trying to develop Petrovic. They are. And with Shayna Baszler, it looks like she's going back and forth between, where is she right now? Raw? I think she's still on Raw. I can't remember when she did the supplement during the draft. I think she's still where she is. She's there to try and help these people get over. Just like what happened with Zoe Stark. We're getting Petrovic. We're getting Lola Vice. Since they're both, one does martial arts. The other one used to be an MMA fighter. The best option is for her to deal with both of them. One to be a mentor and one to be basically a kind of a rival. And we get a Natty. Natty, 100%, is there to add a little bit extra when it comes to a Shayna Baszler. But I'm going to be honest here. I kind of wish that she was part of the North American Championship. As far as I know, she is not. No, she's not. She's not a part of it. And I kind of wish she had been allowed to be a part of it. Because I truly still believe, other than Mi Chen, who's part of the Combine, I'll talk about that in a minute, I would have liked to see Natty be the part of that and possibly be the first North American champion. To have a first for her. To newly mint... I wish that she could be in that competition, be in the ladder match, and either Mi Chen win it or she win it as a veteran. Both of them have been around for a long time. I don't want it to go to someone who's new. It should go to someone who's established. But that's just me. And I gotta admit, Natty's, she is a damn good wrestler. There's no lying about it. She can wrestle very well. She also can do some decent, sometimes good, but other times just average character work. But I'm not gonna lie here. The girl's titties look great for her age. She is like a bombshell and a half. I'm sorry, she is. She's that damn hot. And it's kind of hard not to want to just stare at her boobs and wish you were TJ, her husband. But it is good to see that she's working with the younger talent, because what is she doing in the main roster? Not much at all, nothing. Kind of like what happened with Ash of Elegance, the former Dana Brooke. You're leaving Shayna Baszler, who's been there for a while, who came up through NXT, and you got someone who's been there even longer in a Natty, and it's fine. I'm fine with seeing both of them there and helping either Petrovic in feuds or in mentoring when it comes like to Shayna Baszler. Let's move on. The new guys, I don't remember. I think one is named Tyson or Dyson. I can't remember. And the other guy versus... Let me give it to you like this. The No Quarter Catch crew. Dealing with this situation with the family. And they have this match. And Starks is the one who's the ref. And he basically screws over the Quarter Catch crew. He screws them. There's no lie about it. And at the end of the show, and I'm doing it right now. End of the show, what did we get? That we get Kemp and Bourne basically getting their asses handed and being driven away by the family. And the only one that's there is going to be Charlie Dempsey holding on to the Heritage Cup, wondering where's his boys. I'm not going to tell you that this isn't something that's good to see, that they are doing something with the No Quarter Catch crew. They are doing something with them. They are doing something with the family, because whatever feud the family had before, they got to give them something new. And the people they got right now are too weak to do anything. These new guys that are coming in, I'm going to be honest here. This is me. I don't know about any of you, but I think it's Dyson or Tyson and the other guy. Pretty much they remind me of mud. Out the mud. I'm sorry. That's how they feel. That's what they look like. That's how it is. That is just the deal. I'm just saying it That is the deal. They feel like mud, and they don't look different. They don't feel different. They feel like they're wearing almost the same type of clothes that mud started wearing. So it's going to be a while before they feel like they're important, if they can even do anything. But that's just me. Next, Mi Chen versus Ariana Grace. They're still doing the storyline with Gigi Dolan with Ariana Grace. But this time they interjected a little bit of Chelsea Green, the gorgeous woman that Matt Cardona, who had successful surgery, and currently he is the general manager of GCW. Yes, I found out, just in case someone wanted to say, dude, do you know what happened to Matt Cardona? That he had his surgery, but he is the current general manager of GCW. I know. I don't watch GCW. But seeing that they decided to put Matt Cardona as a general manager is something you can say is something different. Now, if Nick Gage is still there and he's still the focus, it doesn't really matter. I'm not against Nick. I want to make this clear. Anyone who likes and there's someone who does. He likes GCW. I know who you are, my friend. I know who you are. I know you still like GCW, like all the other indie promotions. You say GCW is great. For me personally, it ain't great for me. Great for you, yes, not for me. But I am going to say, with Matt Cardona as the general manager, that's actually a good thing to see. But if Nick Gage is still there, still a heavy focus, they're never really going to get anywhere, no matter if they get a TV deal or not. Because if Nick Gage is the most important thing of the entire promotion, it's going to destroy the promotion eventually. Not because he's a bad guy, not because he has a death wish where he basically said, I'll keep wrestling until I die. He did say that in a documentary. If anybody says that he doesn't want to die, he says, I'll wrestle until I die. Death matches, I'm going to keep doing them until I die. So hopefully he'll be at least more selective in the death matches. Because remember, he died almost in a death match. Almost bled to death. Literally. He did. If you didn't know that, go look for a documentary on Nick Gage. I do believe it's on YouTube still. It's still up. Look at it. It happened in, I believe, in the late 90s to the mid 2000s when GCW was still called Jersey Wrestling. I believe, I can't remember the full name of Jersey Wrestling. But he literally bled to death. They taped him up and he still wanted to wrestle and he bled to death almost. He almost bled to death. So seeing that is fine. Seeing his woman there is fine. Seeing that Ariana Grace is working with her possibly. Because I don't know if she's going to stay in NXT and bounce back and forth between SmackDown and Raw. She might. Even though and we will talk about the match, where her and Roxanne Perez. But if she's bouncing back and forth and working with Ariana Grace as a prima donna, as someone who is a pageant queen, as someone like that, that's good to see. And Gigi Dolan, seeing that she's sick of the situation, and to be honest, I would marry Gigi. She's a gorgeous woman. She kind of reminds me of someone I knew many, many years ago. When I think about her, she looks a lot like her, to a certain extent, except for the orange hair. She had blondish hair. And I keep thinking that she does remind me of her. I'm not saying that's her daughter. It isn't. I doubt that. But she does remind me of her. But seeing that they're going to do something with her next, at least it's a progression of a story. Next, we get Kiana James. Not Kiana. Kiana Jordan and Fallon Henley, who is now turned heel. Now, since Kiana James, because I got Kiana James and Kiana Jordan mixed up, it was because I was thinking of this situation, because now that Kiana James is gone, they have to replace her with someone that could be equally as good, at least in the stage that she was. James needed a replacement as a heel on the main roster of NXT, and Fallon is the best person because she dealt with her, she worked with her, she has probably a good idea how a heel would work because she's been a face for such a long time. It makes sense she had to turn heel. And we get this match, which I'm not surprised some type of screwiness had to happen, because if you watch the match, you did see that Fallon grabbed onto that turnbuckle and ripped off, and she took advantage of it. It wasn't like she just tried to pull it off. She was holding it, and then it came off as it would, and she won. But now we have a new heel that can work with the younger talent. And hopefully, she can learn to be a better heel than she can as a face. Because as a face, she was very generic. Look, I never hated Fallon Henley. But I'm not going to lie. Seeing that she turned heel, I'm hoping she can make more out of it than she did in her face run. I'm just being honest. Duke Hudson versus Alexis King. And this is stemming on... I don't know how to feel about this. They decided now to pair a Ridge Holland with Chase U. And hopefully that he can start working with them and try to do something that way. I don't know how this is going to work. And seeing that now that Thea had been betrayed by Fallon, which will be her next rival, and that is Thea Hale, I'm just like, will Ridge Holland work with Chase U? Not that he couldn't make it work. It's the thing is how they're going to book it that Chase U could work with Ridge, not Ridge work with Chase U. Because it's kind of a funny dynamic, particularly that when it comes to Riley, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a big question. Of course, Lexis King won because Ridge got pissed off, take a chair into the ring to try and nail his head. But that's going to be a question how he's going to prove it. And more, how is Chase U going to work with that? Because you got 4 people in Chase U now. There is no other people being shown. They're not showing backstage segments for a whole bunch of people, at least at this moment. So I don't know. Now also, JC James did break her nose during that match with Thea Hale. So she's out. She just had surgery. And that's kind of sad to see because, look, whether you like JC James or not, I always thought she wasn't that bad. But it's never good to see someone get hurt to the point where they get a badly bloodied nose. Look, we've had a bloody nose with Becky Lynch. We had a bloody nose with Natalya. We now have a bloody nose with her. You don't like to see stuff like that they not careful or it's an accident. It's not something you want, but let's move on. The last match of the night, Chelsea Green versus a current champion in a... Let me give it to like this. I wish Roxanne had not won the title because I truly do believe she is ready for the main roster. But they decided to keep it on her because they do believe that she still needs time. Or better yet, they just don't have any room for her. So I'd rather them keep her on NXT and not put her onto the main roster where she's literally sitting in the back doing nothing. Because they don't have any idea what to do with her. The match was fine. In the end, Chelsea lost, which I'm not surprised. And she was mad. She was screaming, I was mine. I had it. It was this close. The question's going to be, what are they going to do with Chelsea? Is she still going to be on NXT TV? Or are they just going to throw back to SmackDown? I'm hoping they'll just show her more on NXT. And she can work with Ariana Grace. She can do something else. Because, as you heard, Chelsea was being cheered a lot. So that means she could rebuild herself. They may try to flip her into a face in this situation. Try to build her into a face and then send her back to the main roster. You never know. That might actually be the wisest thing for her because she's been a heel for a while, but she hasn't gotten that much any further than she's been. So that's the question. Now, 2 things we're going to talk about. 2. That's all that's left. First one, Superstar Sessions. And this shows you how little they currently have in the rebuild because you're putting Nolan Dar up against a Trick Williams. There is no one available for Trick right now. Yes, you could use the Don, but they want to do something with the No Quarter Catch crew when it comes to Charlie Dempsey. So he's basically hanging out there with no real challenger. They got rid of Dijak. They got rid of Ilya Dragunov. Now, the only ones you could possibly do something with, you can bring back Tyler Bates. You can bring back, well, not the former Butch, who is a Pete Dunne. You can bring other people from the main roster not doing much and have him challenge them. Yes, but as the main roster of NXT, there's just no one there. So the only one that has been developed at least enough is Nolan Dar. So they tried to state, and this is where it gets a little interesting for me. We see a little bit of the yellow envelope saying that Nolan Dar's foot was under the rope, and that's why he's illegitimate champion, and he's wanting to try and get that title. And pretty much Trick says, look, I'm not here to play. This is to whoop that era. I don't give a damn. You want a challenge, you want a match, just ask for it. And that's what he said before he got his head taken off. But then we get a little bit of... The question is there going to be a Who's the Daddy when it comes to Trick Willie and Lash Legend? Because Lash is saying, well, Trick is asking, are you going to tell your boy and girl, your boys and your girl, what you've been up to? And she's going, what are you talking about? She said, what about us? What about what's going on? They ain't know who's your daddy, baby. They ain't know who's your daddy, guys. But there is, she loves my daddy. If you're going to put it like that. She loves his daddy. And you know what I mean. Yeah, you know it. But that is what they implied. That is what led to Trick Williams getting his head knocked off by Noam Dar, where he lifts up the title, and we get that moment. Was it done correctly? Yeah. Was it funny when it comes to Trick Williams and Lash Legend? Yes. Now, the question is, in real life, do these two actually have a relationship or not? Because you can tell from that kiss they had taken, there's a possibility they actually have a real relationship. And I wouldn't be too surprised, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Having them work together, and since they already are a couple, if they're going to have to kiss one another or work around each other, it wouldn't be a bad thing. And they could try to make it more emotional because, as you guys know, when it came to Edge and Lita, they were in a real relationship. And when they did those little bits, they weren't kind of hiding that they were together. They showed how passionate they were when they were together. And that was before Beth. So, literally, it makes sense that sometimes when couples are happily on the same roster and they're beginning to make a relationship, you could add them into a story. Now, it doesn't have to be very long, but at least it will be there. Did I feel like this was an effective show? It's a startup show, guys. Let's make it clear. They just had Backlash. They just rearranged what parts of the roster they wanted. NXT just lost, I don't know how many people, maybe 6 or 8 people, not counting those who have been released, because we know others have been released from the roster that either had something prominent or was working on something and they just released them. They have to rebuild the roster again for the women and men. Trick doesn't even have a real opponent other than Noam Dar. That shows you that, look, no more Carmelo Hayes. No more Dijak. No more Ilya Dragunov. Those were the 3 strongest people they had. And now Trick has to work with either people from the main roster that's going to have to supplement for that, or he's going to have to work with people like Noam Dar, who really has been considered like a comedic wrestler and had been joking around. Doesn't mean he's bad in the ring. He's a very good wrestler in the ring. He does very good indie, and, well, when he was the Heritage Cup champion, he was a decently good wrestler. Of course, he needed to get rid of that damn thing because he had reached the end of it. But there's no one else right now. No one. There is no one. Unless you want to pull out Jacob Fatu right now and then don't even build him and then basically nail a Trick and let him be champ. That's it. But that's just me. Peace.